We're going to be doing a walk around on the 1199 Panigale S. This is going to facilitate the understanding of all the controls of this motorcycle, which is actually pretty easy to understand, but it's got a couple of features and settings. Your traditional cut-off switch and start-up button, your display, digital, fully digital, and this is going to be your full control module. So we're going to go over the controls, over the settings, and all the menus to better understand the usage of the motorcycle. First of all, this is going to be your cut-off switch and start-up button. Basically, to shut it off, you will flick it down, and it will actually shut down the motorcycle. If you're going to start it, you pull it up, and you press the button, and leaving it on will actually start. You don't have to turn the gas on or press it several times. As long as you just keep it pressed, the motorcycle will actually come to a start. On the other side, we have our control buttons. We have our horn button right here. We have our turn signal, selector, and cancel. Turn to the left or right, push to cancel. You have a select button on top. You have one on the button over here. You have your high beam, low beam selector, which functions in a way of pushing down to turn on, pushing down to turn off, or hitting it like a trigger, and that will flicker the high beams. We're going to see the light turning on as we flicker, and we can see in the front the high beams actually flashing. In order to change the riding modes, which are starting on this motorcycle, we press the turn signal cancel button. What we do is we press one time, we do this, and we're going to see how on the screen it actually changes. We'll actually go to the mode, race mode, sport mode, or wet mode. These are the factory settings. Traction control will be at 2, engine braking control will be at 1. 195 horsepower high torque, and the Ducati quick shifter will be on, and ABS will be at 1. On sport mode, those are the settings, and on wet mode, that will be the settings. These are default settings from the factory. In order to select a mode, all you would have to do will be press the button for about 6 seconds, like this, and it will actually go to your main button, and it will show you on the bottom. You will see that it says race mode, Ducati traction control at 2, EBC or engine braking control at 1, Ducati quick shifter on, ABS at 1. That is your display for race mode. If you notice, the main thing that you're going to see on the screen is going to be a lap timer. This speedometer is going to be small on the bottom, which will allow you to then focus on time, lap times, if you're going to be tracking the motorcycle. Switching into a sport mode or wet mode, then the display will actually change, and you will see big on the center the speedometer, and then of course you're going to see all the readings on the bottom. Wet mode will actually bring the bike to a more docile 120 horsepower low torque. Ducati traction control will be to the max at 8, and the ABS all the way to 3. If we don't select a mode, if we just flicker and we don't do anything, it will actually go to the previous mode where the motorcycle was actually set. Now, if we use the toggle buttons that are on top of the signals, like this one's right here, or the one on the bottom, what is going to happen is this. The top button will actually change your trip, your odometer, and the trip meter. Pardon the focus over here with the lighting. You will see that it will actually toggle your trip, your total miles, your trip 1 and trip 2. This is actually, we're using as a demo, one of our demo buys in the store, so it has some miles. And then the bottom button, the one on the bottom, will actually change the one on the right side, which will show you consumption, average speed, trip time, external temperature. That will be for engine coolant temperature, and the real-time miles per gallon consumption, which will be showing you a reading once the motorcycle is actually running. And then there is one function using that same button that's on the bottom. If we hold that button for about 6 to 7 seconds, we will go to the setup menu. We will see that using the same toggle buttons up or down, we will actually scroll through the menu. We have several things over here that we can work with. Let me get the camera a little bit closer. Now we see that we have ride modes, RPM, battery, DDA if it's equipped with it, Ducati data analyzer. That is optional. Bike comes pre-equipped for installation, but the DDA, it's actually sold separately. Pin code, the pin code is something for the technician. Clock, that's how you set your time. The date, backlighting, units, and lap timer, that works in conjunction with the DDA. On riding modes, we actually have the option to tailor each mode separately to your specification depending on what you want. For example, let's say I want to work with the sport mode or the race mode. If we go to the race mode, what I will do is that I will hold the select button for about 6 seconds, press it like changing my mode, and it will actually go to the main menu of the race mode. There I can actually edit how much I want of ABS, of engine braking control, the Ducati electronic suspension, which if you notice, this bike is equipped with electronic servos on top of the forks. That's what will actually adjust the suspension. Display, the Ducati quick shifter if I want to turn it on or off, the Ducati traction control, engine power, default, to bring it back to factory specs. So let's say on ABS, I will hit it one time, and I have the option to set it to 1, 2, 3, or shut it completely off. Once you save those settings, it will actually be saved. You don't have to go back in the menu to actually turn it back on or off. So we hit exit. Engine braking will actually say 1, 2, or 3, or off, the same thing. Ducati electronic suspension. On this one, we can actually completely tailor front and back suspension. You will see that says front compression, front rebound, rear compression, rear rebound. Those are the factory settings, and you have up to 31 settings to actually tailor the settings to your specifications depending on your weight or style of riding, etc. So right now we're not going to do anything with it, so we'll just leave it at 10. Memory. Actually, we'll memorize it. We're not going to move it. All we got to do, in case we're going to, if we change it and we're going to save it, all we do is same thing. Hold it for 6 seconds, and it will actually show memorized, and then it will allow us to go move on forward. Same thing. Follow along the same setups, the same settings to change it on the rest of it. On engine, then I have the ability to actually decide whether I want 195 horsepower high torque, low torque, or 120. Going back to exit, same thing applies to all 3 driving modes. RPMs. On the RPMs, if the motorcycle is actually running, you will see actual readings of the RPM. Battery will show us exactly the voltage reading of the battery at the time. The clock will allow us to change, of course, the time. The date, self-explanatory. Backlight will allow us to either put it on day and night. During the day, we'll actually have a white backlight on the panel. At night will be black, and then automatic, it will actually recognize its changes in lighting, and it will actually change itself, just like on a car. The units, you can actually decide how you want your units. It's the speedometer, whether it's miles per hour or kilometers. Temperature, whether you want it in Fahrenheit or Celsius. Consumption, if you want it in miles per gallon or liters. And then bring it back to default. Of course, default on this motorcycle is going to be US, since it's a US market motorcycle. And once we're done with all the settings, we just hit exit and we go back to the main menu. Basically, that is going to be your controls on this motorcycle. Also, the levers are adjustable. You'll pull them out and you twist this screw and you can adjust them whether you want them forward or backwards. You have a steering damper with an adjuster right there. You just tighten it up or loosen it up pretty much in a matter of righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. You have, if we move to the back, this will be the cowl cover. All 1199 Panigales and Panigale S will come with a passenger seat. The way that you will remove this passenger seat, underneath we have, on the right side underneath, we have the lock cylinder. We will stick the key in there, turn it, and all we do is just pull up. It's a little bit hard to do it with one hand. Pull forward and pull up. On your Panigale, you will see that underneath this lead, you will have your toolkit right there. And this will be your connection for your DDA. If you buy the Ducati data analyzer, this is where you will plug in your USB type port to read all the information. It is something that is standard on the R, optional on the S models and base. Of course, if you don't have it plugged in, it's not going to read it on the system. That will be the walk around, same adjustment on the brake lever. And on this motorcycle, if you will have like a battery tender or some sort, we actually already removed the lids to show you where the battery is located on this motorcycle. If you decide to do some sort of service or installation of accessories to your bike, the battery is right behind this left side panel, right underneath this cover. You will remove a plastic cover that will be right here. The battery is right there, and normally your battery tender connection will run out, and you can actually tie it this way to the connection of the quick shifter. And let's mix it out of the way. That will be your quick shifter sensor or solenoid, and basically that will be a quick walk around of a 1199 Panigale S or R.